Killer prepares for his final battle to the death with Basil Hawkins, and he ends up bringing out the tarot cards. And you know what that means.
It's time to
Powerful Nerdcast assemble! Stay dandy, baby. Greetings, you scurvy scallywags. It's time to take a look at another chapter of the One Piece manga series. A very exciting chapter where we finally get to see Basil Hawkins throwing down with Killer in their big final battle. It's bloody, it's epic, it's pretty damned exciting. But before we do that, I would like to ask all of you, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and think about subscribing to my channel. It would make me very happy. You'd be able to see all of my latest videos, reviews, and discussions as they are released. If you are already subscribed, what are you doing not hitting that bell notification icon? It's going to let you know when all of my videos are officially made public to you, the amazing viewer. And of course, if you are liking my content, go ahead and smash the like button. It helps out these videos tremendously and ensures more people can actually see my videos when they're released. If you want to go that little extra mile, however, if you want to support this channel in another way, please consider checking out my Patreon page. You make a small little monthly donation and go a long way in helping out the channel financially. Not to mention, I would love to add your name to this list of all of these people that you currently see on screen. These are the members of the Ace Guru pirate crew. This chapter of One Piece pretty much had it all. Giant cyborg dinosaurs, Sanji manifesting his weird Vinsmoke exoskeleton, Big Mom battling against Kid and Law, and of course the final battle between Killer and Basil Hawkins. But it doesn't get any weirder than the cover story. They bring back another member of the Supernovas, none other than Jewelry Bonnery, who's maxing and relaxing, eating some soba noodles with some sea otters. I don't really know the significance behind any of the scene outside of the fact that it's just goofy and ridiculous. Maybe it's some sort of veiled reference to what One Piece really is when we finally get to it and it involves noodles and sea otters. Mark my words, this is going to be a big revelation. I was the first one to make this theory. Blah! But let's get to the creamy center that is this chapter of One Piece, the big events, going back to the battle between Sanji and Queen. And we get to go back to that one pivotal scene where Queen decided to slam a sword right into the backside of Sanji's head, which just immediately breaks. And it's not because of hockey, it's because his Vinsmoke abilities are finally starting to manifest. And rather than be very excited over the fact that he can't be cut or shot, Sanji's just flipping the fuck out for the fear that he's going to end up like his family, his brothers, and turn into some sort of evil monster. I wish he would accept some of his crazier abilities, but basically it forces him to start running away from Queen, who is just incredibly interested over the prospect of being able to study someone who has been basically meddled with in the realm of science. He wants to know the secrets of the Vinsmokes and their abilities, and again, Sanji is trying to just shed all of this. And while they could have shown us a little bit more of everything that's going on with their battle, hell, they could have even gone back to Zoro and King, they tend to focus a little bit more on the side battles that are going on here. And while they are side battles when compared to like the main events that is Luffy versus Kaido, they're still pretty damned exciting, as one of them actually does involve one of the Yonko, Big Mom, who is continuing to fight against Kid and Law, and she is just rocking their world. Big Mom herself is essentially a force of nature, so there's not really much you can do against her. Kid is pretty much knocked out for most of this chapter, and most of that is related to everything that's going on with Killer and Basil Hawkins. But Law does manage to actually get a few good hits in, actually managing to use his shambles to get right up in her face and to hit her with a big electrical attack. That is until Zeus comes in, manifesting into a giant form of fire and basically just roasting him to a friggin' crisp, allowing Big Mom to come in and use a lot of really giant destructive attacks, which honestly, I'm surprised haven't killed these guys at this point. But again, they're just trying to drive home the fact that she is definitely one of the most indestructible characters of the entire series, and I have to admit, seeing her utilize some brand new techniques despite the fact that they're basically just more of her swinging her sword, honestly looks pretty freaking awesome. I'm not sure if Law or Kid are going to be able to take her down, and we might get some clues to that at the end of this chapter, but for now, Big Mom is just bringing the heat. The big enchilada of this chapter has got to be the battle between Killer and Basil Hawkins, which has been going on for a couple of chapters, but here we finally get some finality to it, and this one was very striking and awesome. I especially love the fact that Killer, little by little, has been gaining back his original personality, still being afflicted by the defective smile fruit, but still managing to live up to his name in being a badass killer. By the way, a little fun fact, when Oda was actually coming up with a name for Killer, apparently he did it out of sheer laziness. genius. He just couldn't come up with some sort of cool connection to a real-life pirate, so there it is. He's a killer. But Basil Hawkins is no slouch. Refusing to go down to the Daft Punk lookalike, he continues to bring his A-game to this battle, using his voodoo dolls to continuously slam his head into a wall, which is linked to Kid, hence why he's having all of these headaches and basically having all of these struggles against Big Mom. But Killer manages to not only go at Basil Hawkins physically, but mentally as well. There's a battle of ideology and will in this chapter, which I find kind of fascinating, and it's the best way to get at Basil Hawkins. And considering he's a character who has shown little to no emotion, it's amazing that Killer has managed to get in his head just as much as he does in this chapter, basically saying that he sold himself out to Kaido and his crew, and essentially he's a traitor to the Supernovas, the worst of their generation. And you can tell that that does affect him a little bit in this chapter. But most importantly, we also get to learn that while Killer is certainly a physical beast, he is also very clever in the way that he fights his opponents by asking Basil some pretty important questions about his voodoo dolls and how they work. The first question that Killer asks Basil is that if he actually attacks something that doesn't exist, where does the actual damage go? And this leads to one of two of my favorite pages from this chapter, where Killer decides to attack Basil Hawkins by cutting off his left arm. And this isn't like a trick, this isn't some sort of like weird illusion, he actually manages to do this. And since he is actually connected to Kid, whose arm is already gone, no damage is actually done, and Basil Hawkins ends up actually getting really damaged in this scene. In a fit of rage, he draws his cards and even summons that one massive scarecrow creature to try and attack Killer, but he just proceeds to slice and dice this thing. And then we finally get the big finale, where Basil Hawkins draws his final card, which is known as the Tower. And we don't get to see the reveal of what this card is all about until Killer decides to finish off Basil Hawkins in one more big attack, slicing directly through his face and his chest and finishing him off in a blaze of absolute badass glory. Basil Hawkins is defeated. I'm not sure if he's actually dead or not, but this gives Kid the perfect opportunity to finally start to fight back against Big Mom, seeing as how he's no longer connected to his voodoo powers. And he even seems to be a little lighter in this moment, which means he's only going to be all the more destructive. Basically, Law and Kid are finally about to bring the hammer down on Big Mom, and Killer could not be more happy. In a way, he's finally getting revenge against the people that afflicted him with the smile fruit from the beginning, and I have a feeling it's going to be pretty damn satisfying. So what's the rundown on the latest chapter of One Piece? I wasn't all that excited to get away from Zoro and Sanji's fight, as when you combine that with Luffy's battle with Kaido, those are essentially the biggest final battles of the Wano arc. So when we got to this stuff, I was kind of like, I'm not really feeling all that much, but Killer really surprised me in this chapter. He's more than just a Daft Punk looking scythe-wielding psychopath. There's a little bit more to his character underneath, and you can't simply judge him by his overall sensibilities and his design. He's a surprisingly awesome and thought-provoking character, and he brought all that to a battle against a character who, again, seemed like he was very cool and composed, and ultimately ended up just getting completely destroyed. Most importantly, I loved the thematics of this chapter, especially the final card that Basil Hawkins drew, which apparently was known as the Tower. The card itself actually has two meanings, one of them being just pure, raw destruction, but the other part of the card involves there being a brand new path. This is all tied directly to Basil Hawkins' defeat and the fact that the next generation of people are coming in and they're going to be carving out their very own destiny. In the back of my mind, I was kind of hoping that Basil Hawkins would actually return and join everyone else in their battle against Kaido and Big Mom, but he's just way too deep into his alliance with Kaido to actually go back at this point. He knows how dangerous they are and how if he decided to do that, it could probably result in his death pretty fast, but he ended up getting it just as quick from Killer in this chapter, who certainly had something of a massive redemption in this entire arc, being one of the more tragic characters throughout the Wano arc, or at least the current storyline of losing himself to that smile fruit. And again, they really do a great job of showing how insanely loyal he is to Kid and his pirate group, being able to sacrifice himself and even do what he can in order to bolster his captain's strength, and it looks like that's all going to come to fruition hopefully in the next chapter of the series. As for Law and Kid taking down Big Mom, if that's actually how it's going to go down, color me freaking surprised. I had a feeling that maybe if one of the characters that was going to take down Big Mom would probably be a main one, but if it ends up being two of the Supernovas, I can kind of live with that. Again, they're definitely, I think, the most important of the Supernova characters that we've seen, so it does make sense that it would take the strength of both of them to even stand a chance against Big Mom, but I have a feeling that someone else is probably going to get involved in this battle, and between you and me, I still really hope that it's going to be Nami. I mean, she's a member of the Straw Hat Pirates, one of the main characters of the series, and considering she effectively stole some of Big Mom's powers, I just think it would be very poetic for her to jump in and actually help out in this battle. Overall, I thought that this was a really solid chapter of One Piece, giving us a little bit more info on Sanji and his changing evolution, getting to see a little bit more of Big Mom and her overall rod destruction, and finally giving some great screen time to Killer. He's a character that throughout the course of the entire series, little by little, has gotten more interesting, and this is definitely, I think, his big moment in the franchise, and it was pretty freaking awesome. A supernova fighting another supernova, and it was pretty freaking awesome. I'm giving this chapter a 5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it, especially considering going into it, I didn't think I would be that into the whole side battle thing, but man, it got me really pumped up the entire time. It also really helps that the artwork in this chapter looked awesome, especially those two huge attacks from Killer, so damn satisfying. It also just really helps that he is just a kick-ass looking character. He still reminds me of Daft Punk, but I don't care. His scythes and his overall style just make him such an awesome psycho killer. But you heard my thoughts about the chapter. I want to hear yours. Make sure to sound off in the comment section below telling me what you thought about this week's chapter of One Piece. Any predictions as to what's going to happen in the big battles going forward, Sanji's evolution, the defeat of Big Mom, King, Kaido, and what did you think of the battle between Killer and Basil Hawkins? Any favorite moments? Anything you guys want to see from the future of the series? Let's talk all about it. Comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you all next time, and as always, stay down there, baby.